streaming. You don't have headphones. Tell us which headphones you decided. Right now you're on what, old school earpods? What is this?
Savvy listeners of the show might remember my dabbling in Chi-Fi, the Chinese knockoff headphones.
Oh no,
So
Matt.
these are they're okay. They're I got them for like $18 about 5 years ago or something, and
They're still rocking?
fine. Yeah, the cord's a little short, which is annoying at times, but no, I've got some new Sennheisers coming in the next 3 or 4 days. So
all right. So what made you choose this? What were, because isn't are you switching?
well, so I had the Audio Technica AF something or other, some fairly popular one that like everybody liked and recommended, and they lasted about 9 years.
Okay.
But
That's pretty long. That's a pretty long. I mean,
that's pretty good. Yeah. I'm not really complaining about them. I was ready to try something different. So that's why I didn't, just re-up with and rebuy the same ones. And before that, I'd had the Sony 7506s or something like that. Whatever the studio ones that everybody likes.
Yeah.
I like those. They just and I had those.
That's what I have. I think
4 or
the
5
Sony
years.
ones.
Yeah.
Like everyone just buy. That's what they tell you to buy. The Sony ones.
Well, they're right. They're right. They're good. And so I looked at the Sony ones. I was like, oh, maybe I should get those. And then I just started asking around, and people started coming up with other suggestions, and I was like, I'll just try something different. So that's what I did. I tried something different. We'll report back. I bought them without trying them on, which could be
good. Well, then you have the open back. Do you have are you an open back or a closed back person?
I think I like closed back, but these are like open. I mean, I'm usually in a quiet office, so it doesn't really matter. But I had these like Sony ones once that looked like eggs that just like sat over my ears that were kind of awesome, and they stopped making them. And I don't know. I the closed back is nice because it just isolates you even more, which is annoying to my wife, because working from home, she's always like yelling at me from the other room, and I'm like, can't hear you, headphones on.
Yeah. Good and bad, right? That's always good and bad. So.
just text me from the other room.
That's actually the best way. I prefer that myself when people text me. Yeah, just text me, especially when I'm recording. That's the way to do it. So, all right. Well, we'll look forward for your official review.
Yeah, we'll have an official review before too long.
We'll give you the 1 to 5, the official Wirecutter rate software.
Well, I looked at the Wirecutter recommendation, and they had something from was it Monoprice or whoever it was, but they didn't sell them in Australia. And so I was just like, okay, well, that solves that problem.
Always good. You always have the added benefit of like, can I get this where I live? That's the other. So it's always
well, and despite having Amazon, they're shipping from the US, so it's taking forever. But yesterday in the mail, my kids' global entry cards came.
Oh, congratulations!
It's been almost 5 weeks.
Hey man, that's pretty. I'm counting that as a win. That's
that's a failure of postal. Like, stuff just takes forever to get here. We did get some Christmas cards last weekend too.
Well, even in the US, the other day I don't know, something happened. We've got some Christmas cards or something that showed up. It was funny. It was just like,
were they from Australia?
No, it wasn't even that. It was just like it was. I don't know what it was. It was weird. So. All right. Well, good. Glad you got your Christmas cards. Got all that. So, all right. So you ready to, all right. Well, for everyone watching the stream, so Cote is, I think he said he's at QBR, so he will not be here this week. He'll be back.
But he'll have stories to regale us with.
Absolutely. He will definitely have stories when he returns. Oh, and then hold on. I need to officially, I see Matt, like I was just talking to you about how to record, and I didn't do all my recording here. All right. Now I'm ready.
All right, I'm in the Twitch.
You're in the Twitch. Okay.
I'm in the YouTube.
We do have we're gonna do a little ad swap with our friends at the News Stack. So we'll do a little pause after the cold open. We're a little out of practice, Matt. hopefully you and I can get back into the game. Give us a nice little cold open and then a little ad break.
See, but the thing is, you already wrote the cold open in the subject. You're not supposed to do
Well, I got a bunch of others. I mean, I can do this.
Right.
I just I don't know. I need something. I need to. But I think this is a good one. This is a good one. I think this unites us against Cote. That's why I think it's a good one for us.
Wait. It does?
Yeah. Yep. Just hold on. We'll get there in one moment.
Okay.
Are you good with the rest of this stuff? Took a little cloud, a little AI,
yeah,
a little Datadog controversy.
Love Tech Corner with Matt Ray.
Yeah, I got some questions for you. I want to ask you.
Good. Yes.
And I think it'll be fun. So, all right, we ready? Sure. Ready?
Yeah. Surprise me. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Hey, make sure I can never remember right titles when I'm like, I don't know, when Coach
this is episode. It still says episode 398 on the Chiron.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let's fix that. Go to the captions behind the scenes. Hold on, let me talk to the producer.
Is that our new theme song?
The producer's in my ear right now. Hey, Brandon, we're getting that fixed up. You know.
What's that? Right. What's that?
Yeah, what's that? Hold on. Yeah.
We're gonna do it live.
Yeah, we're doing live. Okay, we're back. We're back. He just got. Yep. Fred Gadelli he just in my ear just said he got it fixed for us now. Bonus points if anyone in the chat can say who Fred Gadelli is in the next 30 seconds. I will send you a free sticker.
Is that Murphy Brown?
No, Fred Gadelli. You can if you can tell what you know what if anyone listens to this and emails me who forget Fred Gadelli, and I'll just say honor system.
Well,
honor
now
system.
you just Google
honor
it.
system. Yeah. Don't do it. Like, did you know when I said it who that was? You should email me. I'll trust you.
I just saw that the guy who was the co-host on the TV show Murphy Brown, he died last week.
Oh, so. Sad. Sorry to hear that. That kind of brings us down, Matt. Thank you. Start. Appreciate the start. Let's let's get going. All right, you ready?
That's how I make the cold open colder.
And they're my friends is your after show. Oh, let me write this down. Jesus, Matt. Good God. All right, here we'll start.
It's hard to believe when I took my son in for a haircut the other day, the barber said I needed one too.
No, it's weird when you look at yourself, like especially from the head. It's like, where's all my hair going? It's kind of a sad moment, but no,
it's clearly migrating up.
Yeah, that's what my she's like you're losing. I was like, I know. You don't have to like say that. Don't like you don't have to say that out loud. Just I know. All right, here we go. Ready? Here we go.
Oh, sure.
Well, last week we had a little bit more of a storm here in Austin. So appreciate Matt. You kind of saved us there. You had a nice little interview with Craig. I was again back with no power and no way to communicate with the outside world for a few days. So one of the things
no way to communicate. I was it was hard. It was nonstop on Twitter and
it's true. It was I did to commiserate. I created a Slack channel in the Software Defined Talk Slack. It was Austin ice storm, whatever. And 2023. I even just kind of said it was for anyone stuck in Austin or anyone that just wanted to complain about the weather. And it was like, this is where I am now. I'm like, you know what? Not only am I doing it, I'm creating Slack channels to do it. It was very lively. It was great. I think you were in there, Matt. You sort of commiserated a little bit about.
I think I was reminding people that I was headed to the beach.
Yeah, you're going to the beach, but you do have some property here still, and of course you clearly made it clear.
I paid my $400 to get some trees cleared. So yeah.
Oh, geez, that's like you're already ahead of the game. So, but I know weather's becoming a huge topic because I know you and Craig. It was like you had some kind of monsoon rainstorms down there, right? So I know you guys covered that.
That's fine.
But this every time this happens, I feel like I get to learn something new. And so, of course, any long power outage, at least in my house, my wife is very diligent about. Once the refrigerator has reached some point in her mind, once it's like, I don't even know exactly what the measurement is, like an hour, a day, 2 days. She's like, everything has to go. It's like, just everything is out. And it's like, okay. I mean, I've always feel like she's a little aggressive on it, but it's like, what am I going to do? It's like, it's not
you don't want to toy with food poisoning.
Right. That's her. Hence, that's what she told me. So one of the things we were throwing out eggs, and I was like, wait a minute. Cote always tells me, and all the people in Europe are always talking about how crazy it is. Americans refrigerate eggs. I was like, I think the eggs are going to be fine. She's like, no. She's like, the eggs have to go. I was like, okay, but I'm pretty sure the whole continent of Europe is, they laugh at us. They're like, it's fine. And so now I want to ask you a couple questions. We're going to use you as the person here. Is like, one, do you know why we refrigerate eggs? And then two, can you explain the egg etiquette in Australia to everyone? What do you do with eggs down there?
Right. Well, so my understanding of it is, and this is, Australia is weird because it's European and American at the same time. It's like they take stuff from one place and stuff from the other. So some places don't refrigerate eggs here. Most do. The big grocery stores do. And my understanding of the rationale back when I lived in America was like, there's salmonella all over everything. We gotta like rinse them off with soap and water or something. And so the disinfectant like means the eggs have to get refrigerated, something like that.
All right, you're pretty close there. Okay, so you and I are in what I'm going to call, we're in the refrigerate eggs part of the world. So
yes,
it says in this one article on the internet, which I'm sure can't be wrong on this, right? It
can't
says
be
the
wrong.
U.S., Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and the odd one here is parts of Scandinavia. I don't know. It seems weird. It seems like Scandinavia is like,
well, they just leave stuff outside.
I don't understand the Scandinavia side, nor the fact that they just say Scandinavia. It's like that sort of doesn't really narrow it down. There's still a lot of geography there, but at least the US, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, which I found surprising because I feel like Australia mostly leans English, right? Like they're mostly.
Mostly.
And so the fact that you've you're part of the refrigerated egg consortium subculture, I guess, whatever you call it, shocks me. But nonetheless, you are. And the fact that, and then that you just enlightened us that even in Australia, there's like different competing thoughts, which I think is funny in itself. That's probably the most Australian thing is like, well, turns out there's both. But here's what I learned is that, okay, in the US, just like you said, to prevent disease, the US, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, have chosen to wash all the eggs. And so when you wash the eggs, you wash off the cuticle, right? And this cuticle, like if you will, this little barrier around eggs, once you wash it off, the egg is, if you will, less able to protect itself. So when you do that, they must be refrigerated at that point, and then refrigerated eggs can be good for up to 45 days. So I
thought that was awesome. Yeah, that part of like, that sounds like a win. Like
that's right. That's the refrigerated egg coalition that we are a part of that I didn't even know existed till recently. Now, if you are, let's just call it free range, I guess, free range egg, you're just like, you don't believe in it. You're in Europe, and there because you don't wash them, you let that cuticle sit there. Those eggs are good for 30 days. And I guess, I don't know. We'll have to ask Cote, where do they store their eggs? Like, do you think they store them on top of the refrigerator or just in a shelf?
Like where you store them?
Like you just put them in your pantry? Like it seems like that could be,
next
a lot
to your
of high
butter?
traffic. Yeah, I'd be worried about breaking the eggs in the pantry. I feel like that would be a potential. Well, like you'd still want a separate area, I think, for the eggs.
Yeah. Next to the butter on the shelf.
Even better. All right. So I guess we're going to leave it to the listeners here. So I guess we're, because of where we live, we're pro refrigeration just by definition, Matt. We just have to be. We're going to go with that. But I would like to invite the listeners of Europe and I guess anywhere else where you don't actually refrigerate your eggs. I'd like you to email in or join us in the Slack and tell us, where do you actually store the eggs? Is it the pantry, or is there the equivalent of a bread box or something else? Because this is an important an egg box, yeah, if you will. And of course, the question is like, do you put all your eggs in one basket? All right, good. That's good.
We're saving that.
That's good. All right. Okay. That's good. All right. Hey, this week for everyone watching at home or wherever you are, our friends at the New Stack, we're doing a little joint marketing together. So everyone, you know what I want you to do? I want you to go to the New Stack. I want you to subscribe to their podcasts, and you can learn about all kinds of good stuff. And you already know the New Stack, so you just need to subscribe to their podcasts. I know everyone already does, so do it.
Like and subscribe.
Right. Like and subscribe. All right. Talk a little cloud action. You ready?
There's some little clouds.
Cloud earnings.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Well, that looks like bullshit. I didn't read all these articles. The on-premises Empire Strikes Back, whatever.
All right, good. You're locked and loaded. I like it. That's what I need you to come in. All right. Well, cloud earnings season has come and gone, and so Matt, either the sky is falling or private clouds are returning. That seems to be the headlines. So I will break down the quick news though, as the big three: AWS, GCP, and Microsoft Azure all reported earnings, and they all essentially are growing a little bit less fast or slower, if you will. So let's just give the quick numbers. AWS now is at an $86 billion run rate, growing at 20% year over year. Azure is in the mid 50s. Of course, we always know Azure is like the weird one because we're like, what's Word? What are they counting in there? But around, let's say 50 billion, and they're growing at 38% year over year. And then Google Cloud, GCP, which also includes G Suite, another little weird one, is at about a $29 billion run rate and growing 32%. So, I think in our end of year or wrap up, we talked a little bit about this, like, what's going on? How's it going to go? And I think, I like to make fun of it. It's like, quote unquote, early innings. It's always early innings. But I think we can now say, maybe we can say we're like mid innings now. So I did like quick math here, tells us that roughly the big three, our annual run rate is around 170 billion and growing somewhere, say mid 20% to 30%, depending on how you want to factor in all the different growth rates. So to me, I kind of feel like normal course and speed on this. Like, I don't like, it doesn't shock me that the run rates or the growth rates are coming down a little bit as the numbers get huge.
Yeah.
I still think
trends
we're
are all
on,
that way.
The path, like I've kind of thrown out there, like, I think there's the path to like 1 trillion, like, the next decade or so, maybe these companies are going to get to, if we add them all up.
You just keep extrapolating those numbers and, eventually you get there, right?
Yeah, and eventually get there. And I think it is. It's just one of these things. It'll go a little bit slower. And of course, we had, many things written about the pandemic, pulling forward, slower cloud adoption. But like, I just, at the end of the day, I feel like all the articles pretty much are just sort of like, I don't know, they don't really say anything. It's just like, yeah, it's still growing very healthy. It's very strong businesses, not as healthy or not as strong as it once was, but it seemed kind of inevitable. So my question to you though, I think all the articles mentioned something to the effect of companies looking to rein in their cloud spending. So I would like to know, did you see this coming? Because you seem like an absolute genius for joining a FinOps. I'm just going to put you broadly in the FinOps category. I know you're focused in on Kubernetes costs, but like, did you see this company coming? And was this your motivation for joining a FinOps company?
Yes, I'd like to report that I am some sort of career genius, but no, I mean, I hadn't done this kind of stuff before, and it seemed interesting. It's always been relevant, but it just happens to be exceptionally relevant today. And so, yeah, that worked out really well. I'm quite happy at KubeCost. Thank you very much. But no, I mean, everyone kind of saw that these numbers were going to continue to nudge down. You can't grow. I mean, you can't grow like super huge numbers and continue to increase them, and decreasing kind of just is going to happen. But I don't think, and they've reported all the different headwinds, like you mentioned, COVID and manufacturing and, back to work and all sorts of recessionary headwinds and all that stuff. But, at the end of the day, I still think there's inevitability to the cloud. And, I feel like these are fairly safe bets that these companies are going to continue to grow. There'll be a little bit of a horse race, but it's weird to call this, the second inning or the fourth inning or whatever. It's like, this is not the game is not going to be over at 9 innings, right? This game this is the future. Like, we're going to be reporting back in 2062 when we're like, well, we've entered inning 271 of the game. And, no, this isn't baseball. This is the long haul. And, I feel bad for all those enterprise companies who are out of the game already, because this is the game.
Yeah, and I guess to that point, I mean, I think the other thing that kind of came out in this earnings season was IBM, I think, announced that Red Hat OpenShift is, something making like around $1 billion, annual run rate. So I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
awesome.
You can read the financial disclosure there. It's like, I don't know. There's a little, I don't know if that's exactly right, but that was sort of the talking point. So like maybe someone else can dig into exactly what they make. And so I think, to your point about it, it's like, it is good, and I think that's great for IBM, and it's, a good story. And I think it certainly supports the Red Hat acquisition, but taken isolation, it's good, but taken against the clouds, it's like, well, I mean, it's just what, you know what I mean? It's such a tiny fraction
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the revenue. So it's kind of back to like, the story, I think, is going forward is kind of the thing we've been talking about for a long time, is that sure, like on-premise stuff will exist. There will always be stuff. And of course, let me also preface this to say, I know you can run OpenShift on all the major clouds for the most part. And like, I
Yeah.
understand that's totally possible. So I'm not just trying to equate that, but it just shows you that like, if you will, that 86 billion, let's use AWS annual run rate. And like, okay, IBM got to 1 billion with OpenShift. It's like, okay, that's going to be a long time before IBM starts to get to that. It doesn't mean it's a bad strategy. It just means that like it's kind of it really is different games. And I think,
Well,
go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, but like, let's not take away from the fact that like Red Hat has now done $2 billion open source companies. I mean, they did Linux, they did RHEL, and now they've done it with OpenShift. That's impressive. And I don't want to diminish like that accomplishment, because nobody else is trying to play the pure open source game the way Red Hat has and continues to. And hopefully IBM doesn't appear to like want to change that process. That part of the business is still looking pretty sharp. It is open source, and that's awesome.
And your old CEO over at Chef back in the day, right? Adam Jacob, I think he had a long Twitter thread about like, sort of like why he thought Red Hat was so good at it. I will summarize all of Red Hat's success in the following. It's like, I'm just going to say like, Red Hat is the exception that proves the rule. Absolutely cannot be replicated. It's like,
that's not true.
Like to me, that's where I'm going. That I'm just like, I don't think you can. I'm just like, there's just so many things have happened there. Obviously, Linux being the linchpin leading to OpenShift and now being $1 billion. It's like, I just think you can read all the stories. And Adam Jacob wrote through the whole thing. I'll let you explain to me why I'm wrong here in a second. Is just like, I just don't think you can do it again. I just do not think you can create something. Those conditions to create Red Hat will probably never exist again. Go ahead, Matt. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, obviously you have companies, like Elastic and others who are monkeying around with their open source licenses where, in my opinion, they're not really open source anymore. When you start holding things back, for different players, but there are still some other pure play open source companies. You've got Grafana folks. As far as I could tell, they're not holding code back. They have moved some things into a Pharaoh GPL, which is a little noxious, but and you've got GitLab. They're still punching around and doing well as far as I could tell, and ostensibly staying 100% ish open source as far as I know. So I don't think. I think it's well established that open source is the future of everything. I mean, as far as the infrastructure goes, we're talking about all this money that the cloud vendors are making, and most of it is a lot of it is on the backs of open source. It's Linux workloads, it's Kubernetes, it's databases as a service that are open source databases. So open source is going to continue to be the fabric. Who monetizes it as successfully, how you do it. I still think that there's definitely a strong business model for pure open source. You just have to, I mean, Red Hat's secret sauce is they're willing to just grind out the competition. And and you know what? That is not sexy to VC. If you go and say, hey, check this out.
Yeah, and let me be clear. Let me clean up my own statements. Like, yeah, for sure, open source is the future. For sure, open source companies can make money and stuff like that. I just don't know if they can get to the scale of Red Hat. Like all these companies, like making $1 billion. I just think, Red Hat doing it twice is just like, I mean, it just feels like that's the part I feel like it's impossible to replicate in a traditional software model. Now, of course, taking open source software, packaging that up, running it as a service, being on the cloud, getting it on that. That's the future. I totally agree with that kind of stuff. And I think those companies are going to make money. I just think if you're starting a company today and you're like, I'm going to be pure open source and I'm going to make my money through kind of the Red Hat, let's call it the enterprise software selling model. I just think that's really, really hard. Well, doesn't mean you can't run a great business. It just it's hard also, to get to $1 billion.
If you said I'm going to start an enterprise software company today, that's it doesn't matter if it's open source or not, right?
Do you feel like VC's leaving the meeting? They're like, okay, we'll see you later. We're not
they're like, I'm going to go sell software to enterprises and I'm going to need some money. And they're like, how are you going to differentiate yourself? And you're like, I'm going to have a great sales team. Right? I mean, that's why everyone goes open source, is because it at least gets you the attention. And it gets you the
build the community, right?
It builds the funnel,
awareness.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you're going to get, and yes, you may have a little startup that, we don't really talk about closed source companies much, and it's not just because that's who we are. It's like there's really not a lot of closed source stuff that punches through the enterprise noise anymore, and how they differentiate themselves, whatever. It's like, I mean, because as you and I well know, there's 300 monitoring companies out there, but the top 10 that people talk about, probably 6-7 of them have a open source component of some sort. I mean, you still got App Dynamics and the like, but they're small in their markets, even though they're making a lot of money. Right? They're the iPhones to the Androids. And so I think, open source is going to be the volume. It might not be all the money, but it's definitely going to be the volume.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of like, you're in the middle of it. And Craig talked about it last week too. It's like, obviously that's the thing that I guess all the open source companies are sort of navigating simultaneously is like, okay, well, if you're not part of the, if you don't get acquired by AWS, GCP, or, Azure, and can you partner with them? Can you get on their, if you will, their platform so that you're available there, right? Or can you run a successful SaaS business yourself? Can you just host it yourself? And is that compelling enough to do it? And I think, the question though, I think, back to like the OpenShift one is like, the traditional enterprise. So although I don't know, Matt, I'd be curious to know. It's like, for the longest time, somebody would always call up and ask, be like, no matter what you had, if it was open source and you're running it, we run as a service, people would be always like, there'd always be somebody asking, can we get it on premise? So are you still getting you still getting that phone call at your new job?
So, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, one of the advantages of not running it, and, I think I've mentioned this before, is like before I got to KuCos, I very rarely saw MultiCloud. And we kind of specialize in MultiCloud. Right. And so now, I see customers who are on 3-4 public clouds and on-prem. And, it's just like, that's crazy, but that's your enterprise. And, so the advantage, having an enterprise package that can be run on-prem is, when the customer says, hey, I need to run it across, 3 or 4 public clouds, Amazon running something as a service generally isn't going to be like, oh yeah, let us help you make sure it works well with GCP. That's just, they don't care.
Yeah,
and
they don't care,
really,
right? It's not their thing, right?
And they're like, oh, ingress fees. All right, now we care, but, so a lot of the customers who are multi-cloud are going to run it for themselves because they don't want to, the cloud vendors aren't going to do that for them. And that's the advantage of any of the SaaSes is
it's like who's watching the watchers kind of thing. It's like, you're sort of, you don't want to be running that. Well, let me ask you this. Like, I don't know, are we ever going to get to a point, and maybe this site already exists, I should know if it does. It's like, has someone just taken some basic workload and been like, okay, almost like a stock trader, like you could be like, okay, here's what it costs to run this basic workload on these 3 clouds. And then it kind of updates in real time as the prices go up and down. And it's just like, okay, well, turns out so-and-so's it's almost like Gas Buddy, like where to buy the cheapest gas. Is like, can you just watch turns out the Linux boxes on this cloud are a little bit cheaper. I don't know, has anyone gotten to that level, or is it still all kind of behind the scenes? You got to do that based on your account and your discounts and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Did you look at the new release of Kubecast that came out yesterday?
I haven't yet. I mean, should I? Does it have like a nice little dashboard like that already built in?
No, we have it's our first release with predictive cost.
Okay.
And so, right now it's just saying, hey, if you deploy what you described, it's going to cost this much an hour.
Okay.
But you can definitely see like the roadmap for that is, hey, what if I put it on AWS? What if I put it on, US East 1? What if I put it on US West 2? What if I put it on Azure? So you can start doing the apples and oranges. And then, the natural progression as as a product manager is like, well, clearly I'm going to want to show dashboards, and I'm going to want to show like a tooltip some point saying, if you switch to Azure, you'll save $400 a week. And people will, that's just if you look at the sorts of predictive features, people want that kind of stuff.
I get these questions all the time too. It's like people kind of want to know what it's going to cost, and we have some tools like you have tools, we have tools and stuff, we can show it, but it's almost like just a public website. Like literally, you can just be like, because I think that's what people are always looking for, like a gut feel. Because I mean, the problem is we both know the answer to these questions is always dependent on like your contracts, your workloads, and it's so custom that it's like it's impossible to give you a legitimate answer without knowing more. But it is probably, it's like almost like to register somebody, or Corey Quinn or someone needs to do it, because it's like, it would be wrong. It wouldn't really be useful, but it would get a lot of traffic. People be like, oh, look how I can run this workload on AWS. It'd be crazy.
Yeah. Oh, over in FinOps Slack, that kind of question gets asked like every 2 or 3 days. Somebody pops in and they're like, hey, does anybody know a good way to compare the price of this versus that? And then, people start coming out of the woodwork with, well, if you talk to your sales rep, or it depends, or, what's your, there's just so many variables that go into that kind of stuff. You really kind of have to understand your model before you have to understand, multiple cloud vendors and what you're running before you can make an informed decision. And by that point, you're usually pretty deep in your commitment to a particular cloud vendor, so you're probably not going to switch. Kubernetes makes it a lot easier to switch workloads, but even even at Kubecast, we see a lot of non-Kubernetes workloads. So,
I'll tell you what the answer to this question is, because it's the answer to every question right now. It's ChatGPT. Right. Everyone is simultaneously launching a ChatGPT offering, add-on, whatever, prompt initiator. So I haven't done ChatGPT, but after this recording, I'm going to go ask ChatGPT to compare the cost of all the 3 clouds, and we're going to see what it does.
Well, that's the beauty of ChatGPT is it's bullshit as a service. It'll give you an answer.
And you know what? We should just be like, it's probably right. We'll be like, it's close
probably
enough.
Right.
It's like, what else do we have? So my question is, for you, Matt, is like, now let's get beyond so Microsoft, what a great week for the Microsoft product manager, or the Bing product manager. Like, you've been on Bing for 2 decades. Nobody cares. Like, nobody even knows it exists. It's like a $10 billion business, super successful, roughly 1/10 of what Google does. The only people that are using it just are the people that forgot to change the default when they installed Windows, right?
Exactly. My Windows, I have a Windows box that I only play games on, and I turn on the Edge browser,
whatever.
and it's the default, and I'm like, hey.
Literally, that's all that's left. And then out of nowhere, like a comment, you're like, whoa. ChatGPT shows up. Microsoft has this huge initiative, and then just I guess just the other day they announced it's all being integrated. Although when I clicked on it, I couldn't actually use it. It was I guess it was coming soon. So that was that made it actually feel more enterprise.
Wasn't it accidentally published? Like somebody flipped a feature flag and it went live for a while, and then they flipped it back off.
I missed it. I guess I didn't get to do it. I went to Bing, and I was on Bing. I was searching. I was like, oh, this is just Bing. This is boring. There's nothing. I don't even care about this. And I was so disappointed. But I guess it's coming out. But I just think it's you got to think Microsoft. You talk about loving it. It's just even if it doesn't lead to anything, just the fact they have annoyed Google, after being just dominated in this industry for decades, Google is quote unquote called a code red. I don't know. It just seems ridiculous when I say that, but I'm just repeating what I read. But just the fact that Google is just, because of course they have to, right? I mean, they have to be all over this. If somehow this was the thing to displace Google's, monopoly or whatever, incredibly profitable business on search, it would be a huge blow to Google. So the fact that Microsoft is just annoying them, it's like they must love it.
Yeah. And considering Google laid off all their AI ethicists, it's probably bodes well.
What could go wrong? So what I wanted to ask was like, okay, now that it's been out for a while, like what have you done anything with it that you think has been useful, that has been helpful to you? I have 3 things I was going to mention on mine that I thought were interesting.
Yeah, I have done, I've let it write outlines for like blog posts, and like I let it do outlining, and it's not that different from what I would have come up with, but it's faster. It's faster. It's just, right? It's like I was going to do this and you filled in, the outline, and now I still have to like put all the details and stuff. And, these words are kind of, I don't know, they're not that good. So it's bullshit as a service. It deals with like the tedium of a lot of things that, you have to do to write something. You still have to, put pen to paper. In this case, somebody's already kind of sketched things in, and, you're still going to move things around and edit it up. And so I was having this conversation with my son about, they've already banned it in the schools here, but of course, the kids already know about it. And, I was just like, look, the things that come out of it are wrong. If you assume that, then you've read the material. He was writing an essay for school stuff. It was like, if you've read the book, what's wrong, and you can come in and fix it. Some of the stuff might be right, but you need to understand, you've moved from, content creator to editor. And, that's a hard skill. And because it assumes that you understand, both the source material and how it needs to be described. I don't know.
Well, my son, so the 3 things I've seen it used for. So first, my son, credit to him, he has to do some essay next week. So he has asked his science teacher, some kind of science essay. So he asked the science teacher that he was basically going to hand in 2 assignments. He wants to hand in the ChatGPT assignment, and then he wants the science teacher to grade that, and then he's going to write it himself, right? And he's going to basically, and I guess the science teacher was interested in doing it. So I'm interested to see, and I was told him, I was like, oof, like, hold on now. ChatGPT is going to almost definitely produce like 100% grammatically correct. That can be tough, right? That is a tough bar. I mean, I think it's a tough bar for anyone.
It's already tough for all my kids. Yeah.
Listen, that's tough for me. I think it's like to sit there. So I was like, you got to like, don't get too high. But I was like, you got to go in there and find some stuff where it's wrong, right? Because that's where you're going to win, where it either doesn't go in depth or it's just flat out wrong. So I'm interested to see. So I actually like to me, it just seems like as schools, it's like you got to almost embrace it, right? It's almost use it as a tool. Be like, okay, here's like, I almost think as a teacher, you almost be like, okay, here's like, you would almost hand out an outline. All right, like here's the ChatGPT version. Let's go through and talk about why it's good and why it's bad, right? Versus like, I think as soon as you pretend it doesn't exist, you're in deep trouble. So so I'll report back. I have personally used it. I find it, if like instead of going to Stack Overflow, just type it, ask ChatGPT to do the thing you're trying to do. It's like, how could I, like, especially Python, it seems really good with Python. If you ask it to like do some kind of like write a Python program to do the following things, it will give you a very nice stub, right? Or sometimes it works. And then it also makes it real easy to copy, paste it. And then from there, you can go in and like make a few more edits. And I actually think that's actually better than Stack Overflow, because you're like, Stack Overflow is always like, it's like there's like one great answer than like 70 bad answers. So that one I've used. I assume it would do all that for like I haven't done anything like the config stuff. It's not something I touch. Like YAML, I assume it does all that stuff for YAML, but I just like, I don't want to. I have nothing to do with YAML. I never do anything with that. So I don't know. Have you done that? Does it work? Does it work well for YAML?
I mean, I don't even trust like Copilot. So
it's over there, Emacs, no code completion. Just
well, no. Somebody did get Copilot working with Emacs, and I mean, I've seen some of that stuff. It's just like, I'm not generally writing stuff from scratch, And so usually
kind of once you have their templates, use that, right?
Yeah, yeah. And usually I'm going into existing code and reading through it and trying to like follow it and make changes. And if you can't unleash AI on that because it'll it'll just like mess it, whatever sort of semblance of rationale I had before, it's like now it's just gone. And anyway, I mean, so I think as a developer, it's great for templatizing stuff. It, but I've seen lots of examples of it. Very, very authoritatively putting down something that was wrong.
Yeah, certainly like the facts and stuff like that. I think that for sure. Okay, the final one I've done was I wanted it to do like basically build me a workout routine, and I specified like here's the stuff like basically the workout material, weights and stuff that I have in my garage. So that's sort of like a constraint. It was like, and that actually was great. And then it gave me kind of like if and I even said like how many days and stuff like that, and that was like perfect, right? Because it was sort of like I didn't
and there's a ton of material available for it to pull from, right? And so it's like, I mean, I'm doing like marathon training stuff, and it's like there are a billion marathon training programs out there, and each one is oh, you run 4 days a week, oh, you run 2 days, rest here, whatever. It's like if you gave me the average of all of them, it wouldn't it wouldn't matter. It's there's no right answer. There's just this is fine.
Yeah. Well, I think the also fact that it can customize to you. If you can put in parameters, you're like, I want to train this many days, and so it's like that part I think really good. So I mean, it's been fun. I mean, I ultimately think at the end, I think Matt, the thing this may disappoint everyone, but you especially, it's like I do think in the end the business model is going to be advertising again. Like I think you're going to end up with something like you write the queries that we've been talking about, and then on the right hand side, I think you're just going to see another AI read the generated text of the AI of ChatGPT and say, okay, for people that are asking this kind of stuff, here's the thing that's most relevant that we'd like you to buy, right? And I think which I don't know.
Or even worse, advertising insertion into the responses where
I think like, that part will get
because you're asking like, oh, I want a workout routine, and they're like, have you tried CrossFit?
Yeah, Jake, do they put it right in there, right? I think that's that's going to be real. I think that the subtlety.
We recommend you take your Nike branded shoes and you run
here. I think that's true. I think that will be the hard part of it. But that seems, I mean, we're kind of doing the thing I don't like. We're kind of applying what we know and current business models to something new. So maybe there'll be something else, but it does feel like because advertising has the ability to get kind of like infinitely big, that most things end this way. But happy to be wrong on that. 100% happy to be wrong on that.
Yeah. Now there's not going to be a DuckDuckGo of ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Now, to come back to, we asked an earlier question, can ChatGPT compare AWS to Azure? So one of the listeners here while we're streaming, they did it. So the prompt was, hey, ChatGPT, please compare running my workload on AWS versus Azure. And the response was ChatGPT is at capacity right now. So there you go. So there, and so we have plenty of work to do. Maybe ChatGPT can call Matt and they can get better pricing and they can spin up some more clusters because clearly they're running out of money. So, all right, well, we'll keep an eye on it. Send us, join us in Slack. I like seeing what are interesting examples. And I have seen a lot of people have given examples of better prompts. So that is something where like there are a million examples of how to write prompts for ChatGPT. I would just say read one of them and you do suddenly get like 10 times better once you learn how to do the prompting a little bit better. So, all right. Well, the other one, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, monitoring. And this is not a software-defined talk story. I don't know what it is. So Datadog, the claim is that Datadog asked the developer not to submit a pull request for OpenTelemetry. And so there was a bunch of, I guess I'll give you the full headline here. Datadog allegedly asked the developer to kill open source data export tool for OpenTelemetry. So it looked like what happened here. And there's a nice article, fun article in the register about this. And so what happened was, it sounds like, and I'm just going to use his GitHub name, Boost Chicken. That's it. Boost Chicken had submitted a pull request to essentially allow you to export data from Datadog. And then he when it said, and I guess removed the pull request, and said didn't want to do it. And then there was a whole bunch of questions about why. So he came out and he said that Datadog did ask him to pull the pull request. Now, Charity Majors, she's the CEO of Honeycomb, basically called this out and said, this is not right.
Competitor.
Yeah, and a competitor said it's not right that Datadog is essentially, if you will, telling their customers to use OpenTelemetry, but they basically want it to be one way. Who would have seen this coming, Matt? A software company only wanting to suck in the data, not give the data out, right? So this came on for a while. And then there was like some allegations about, well, what did Datadog do to incent the developer?
That was kind of left out. And that was my question. Was like,
the question is, did Boost Chicken get money to pull the pull request? Now, Boost Chicken says that did not happen, that it was professional courtesy. They asked him to take it out. He said he could have pushed back, but he felt like out of professional courtesy that the vendor said not to do it. So he pulled it out and said, I didn't want to submit it. Then when he was then asked, and then I guess Charity Majors and her company, Honeycomb, sponsored it. So they basically said, hey, would you actually resubmit the pull request? And he said they thought about it, and he said it made sense. They were sponsoring the work. So he put it back in, and all is good now. It has been incorporated into the API. So good news for everyone. Looks like you can get your data out of Datadog now using the API. So
yeah.
Who did, Matt? How do we grade this wrong? Go ahead. Go right ahead.
It was Grafana. Grafana paid for him to do the work.
My apologies. You're right. That was in there. So we got really the three big ones. So we got
yet another monitoring company.
Getting all confused.
I mean, they were all involved, and of course, the two of them were like, "Hey, let's get that data out of there."
All right. So I think should we rate here? So Boost Chicken says that he just did this on his own. There was no money. So I don't know. I guess in the end, I don't know if we can blame him. He wrote the code. It's up to him whether to submit it or not. I mean, it doesn't sound like there was any actual money changing hands that we know about. So I don't know what we would say there. I think we just say next time, Boost Chicken, just stick to your guns, flap your wings a little bit. Just if you've done the work, why not just put it in? Does it matter? But I don't know. If someone comes to you, you're the open source guy. If I came to you and I said, Matt, I'm the vendor for this thing, I would prefer that you don't issue this, make this addition. What would you do? Would you ask questions? Would you tell them?
I would ask questions.
Down?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm the sort of pot stirrer who would probably ask questions, and then if I chose to close the issue, I would write why. That's the thing. Is he just kind of ghosted his own PR, closed it and walked away without really explaining it. And it's because then, if you're like, well, they asked me not to do this, some other knucklehead's going to take your PR and remerge it.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, why? That's what I would have done. I was like, why didn't someone just jump on it and say, so?
So I think OpenTel has a lot of, they've got a lot of PRs coming and going. And so it probably, he probably quietly made this PR, quietly closed it. And in the noise of day to day, it just got, glossed over. But, in a less active project, it would probably draw more attention.
Now, here's this official statement to the registrar. This is Boost Chicken. Quote, I owe the community an apology on this one. I lacked the courage of my convictions, and when push came to shove and I had to make the hard choice, I took the easy way out. I think it's okay, Boost Chicken. I don't know. Maybe we've all been there. We've all made actually, none of us have been there. I haven't been there. I've never done a bunch of work and then submitted it. And then I would have been like, no way, man. Once I've done real work, I want it to actually be submitted. So
wait, Brandon, you work in the enterprise. That happens all the time. You do real work that goes nowhere.
Well, different topic. We'd be on. So I think, that's okay, Boost Chicken. We forgive you. I think it sounds like it got merged. I guess we need to give kudos to, not Honeycomb. Well, I guess Honeycomb brought it up, and then you said Grafana. Yeah. So Grafana.
I mean, everybody who made it happen.
It happen. That's good. And I guess we like Datadog, but we have to say bad dog. That's not good. I don't know what they did. They needed the purple dog will have to go in the cage, right? Go in his crate for a little bit, walk around, and think about what they did wrong and why and how they cannot make this mistake again. It's not good. They shouldn't have done that.
And chances are really good it was not an on high kind of thing. It was probably just someone was like, maybe I mean, I have no idea who made the request, but it probably wasn't even a high level request. It was probably just like, hey, could you, we're not ready for that, or something like that. And I could just see this game of telephone happening where, something gets misconstrued into like, don't do that. And like, maybe they were just like, give us some
I just
time.
want to believe there's a person, the CEO of Datadog's like, hey, you got to get control of Boost Chicken. Boost Chicken's out here just going crazy, making pull requests. Like, I want to believe that happened, but of course we know that didn't happen.
Well,
and to be fair,
we'll look for it in the SEC filing.
Listen, we know collectively, we know a bunch of people at Datadog, very successful. If anything, we're just jealous that they're so successful because we were in this industry a million times and we can never achieve the level of success. So if somebody at Datadog wants to reach out, give us their side or what's going on, happy to figure it out. But in general, we're like Matt, you and I, the one thing I think we adamantly agree on is like, yes, all the monitoring APIs should be supported, good and bad, right? Please, for everyone working in monitoring, I know it's not observability now, but just old school. Like, everyone should get access to the data, make it easy, because if you don't, we're all stuck with S&P MIBs and it's just bad. Cote's in there, he's bitter, people are quitting. It's just, give us some nice APIs. That's what we all want there. Yes. All right, Matt, couple things I wanted to talk about, and then we'll get out of here. One was, I just wanted to just shout out the Cloudcast podcast, which I feel like we're doing that every episode. This week's episode, it was a Sunday conversation. And what is it? Let's see. What is the official title? It's, quote, "Everybody Gets Fired Eventually." It's Brian Gracely. Oh, yeah. I think it's a good 30 minutes. Just some fantastic stories about being fired, firing, dismissals, and things like that. It's the kind of real world discussion that I think, frankly, doesn't happen. It was just fantastic. I loved it. I don't know, other than to say it's like, maybe it's a little bit of therapy, but it's also, I know you and I, Matt, we've traded stories. We won't do it on the podcast, but Brian actually tells some funny stories that are kind of personal. And I think it's the kind of stuff we probably should do more of. Like, I guess I would summarize it this way. He kind of highlights, people are let go all the time for crazy reasons that have nothing to do with anything. And it happens all the time. We don't talk about it. I think we all kind of pretend everything is like a fair world and things like that, but that doesn't always work out. So listen to that one. I think it's really good. And then, Matt, I wanted some advice from you. Some quick advice. I am still rocking the old Intel Mac. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I want to finally move into the real world with the rest of us and get, on the new Macs with all the great CPUs. Now, on this Mac I got 32 gigs of RAM, and I've loved it. I felt like this has been great. Now, from what I'm seeing though, all these Macs now, everyone's basically getting 16 gigs. I know you can get it with more. But then I've been watching YouTube and stuff like that. People are basically saying it doesn't matter. Like, all the benchmarks, like 16, 32, because the SSDs have gotten so fast, right? That it's essentially, if you have to swap, it's like, it's not a big deal to swap out. So I still feel anxious about this stuff. I never want to go back in RAM. I never want. Now, what's funny is I don't even know on my iPhones, all the iPhones, I'd really never know how much RAM's in the iPhones. I don't even think about it, right? When I just buy it, I just buy it. So I want you to help me. Like, is my RAM anxiety justified here? Should I go 32? Should I go more? Or is it really just a waste of money? Am I throwing $400 down the proverbial toilet if I upgrade the RAM?
I don't think it's worth it. I've got an M1, the first generation MacBook Air. I've got 16 gigs. I can't really think of occurrences of times where I've been like, oh, I wish I had more RAM. It doesn't really seem to affect me. I do some light video editing, some podcast editing. I don't really play games. My gaming box it's an AMD system with 32 gigs of RAM. That feels like overkill, just because that machine, I use it for Docker builds and Windows and games. That's what that AMD box is for. But that one's a beast. But like, day to day, I'm on this laptop and I never really notice it. Now, I have spent some time on an 8 gig system, and that definitely feels constrained.
All right, so 16 really is a freeing effect. Fine. You don't really need to go 32 unless you just have money to waste.
Yeah, I mean, and probably in 2 years or something, when I go to replace it, maybe 32 will be standard. And like, I'm building my son a new gaming box in a while, and I'll probably replace it with another 32 for games, but I don't really think you're not really using that much memory most of the time. I mean, you know, you gotta close Chrome occasionally, but that's just because it's a pig. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, that's good to know. All right, we'll see if I can actually do it. I don't know. There's something, you know. I guess when we switch the chips,
you know, I mean, because you're talking like, was that a quarter of the price? You know,
yeah.
another,
Well, I mean, this is the whole
20%
thing. Apple could just be, this is the one place of where it's hard to love Apple. It's like, like they're making so much money on this. Like the RAM. I mean, you talk about pure profit. I don't know what the RAM actually cost them. I mean, I got to think the markup is like, 300%. So it's like,
well, and it's soldered on. So, you know, the RAM
yeah, you can't do anything, right?
And the storage. The storage is also not upgradable. So don't go under 512. I can definitely
say
that
for sure. And I get that.
Yeah.
And you definitely got to go bigger on the hard drive. But like the
RAM, I've got 512 and it feels constrained at times. I mean, I'm always,
I think 1 terabyte. You got to go 1 terabyte these days. That I'm going to do for sure, but we'll see. All right. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you, going to get your opinion on is, I feel like I just rediscover this every year or two. It's every time I want to do something on like more Linux, I just download the Docker, or I guess the container through Docker Desktop of the thing I want. And on my next Mac, that's what I think I'm going to do. It's like, I'm not going to install. I want nothing on the command line, none of the packages, no homebrew, none of this. Like, it just feels like that stuff just rots immediately. I can never keep it up. I always have the wrong thing installed. I feel like the containers. I feel like the containers, like this is the best use of containers to me. It's just like running these things on my desktop and keeping them clean. Now, but you were talking in Slack. I was wondering, have you embraced this? Are you a container first on the desktop person, or are you still installing everything on your machine?
No. I mean, I definitely use Homebrew. I upgraded to Ventura this week, and had to refresh a bunch of Homebrew stuff. But no,
do you know what the homebrew, Matt? Like when the homebrew log messages start kicking out, like, I mean, I'm just like, I feel insecure, I guess. Like, I feel like my system is just becoming like, there are so many things, and then it starts like going to dependency. I'm like, feels wrong. It feels like I've made some poor choices.
If you spend some time to dig into Homebrew, you realize it's isolated itself into like /op seller or something like that. So it's fairly self-contained. It's not messing with other things. It throws a couple of symlinks into your path, but it's its own little niche, right? And so it's not messing with the rest of Mac OS, and it's fine. It actually is fine, because a lot of the CLI tools that come with Mac OS are dated, or they're weird versions or something. But so I still think as a developer, Homebrew is essential. But like I said, I do have this AMD box that I bring in because I've been building containers this week, and it takes 3 minutes to build the ARM container, and it takes 13 minutes to build the x86 container. And so I'm like, I mean, first off, that's still awesome that I can build containers cross-platform. That still just blows my mind without having to be on the platform. But I don't want to wait 13 minutes for anything.
That's a long time.
If I turn off the test, it drops to 6, but still.
All right, we'll see. I don't know. I'm trying. I just homebrew. I don't know. It's not that it's not good. It plays a role. I agree with you, but I'm just sort of like, every time I look at it, I'm like, I don't know.
Well, because you need that, because you're probably not going to go to Linux on the desktop.
Definitely. I am definitely not 100%. This is not the year of Linux desktop for me. I am definitely not going.
No, for me, this is the year of Linux under the desktop.
All right. Well, I'm getting some feedback in the stream chat here. It's like, people are definitely, homebrew is still essential. Okay. All right. So maybe I'm going too far when I say and get rid of that. All right. Well, one final thing I want to call out, and we'll get to all the minutia here, is I just think we have our early front runner for slide of the year. This FTX slide, which is, I guess, built by the CEO that's taken over from bankruptcy. It's fantastic. It literally is fantastic. I'll just describe it, and then everyone can look at it. It's some like essentially account setting code, basically. If and it basically just shows,
I'm laughing because I'm looking at it.
Maybe everyone should just look at it. It's like can withdraw below borrow equals true. It's basically, there's this flag in there that says like, can you borrow if you don't have any money? And then when it's set to true, you can have a net negative balance. And then for Alameda Research, which was the investment arm, I guess, of FTX. I guess the limit was set to 65 billion. And I was like, have we ever seen like such simple code lead to like, I don't know, bigger losses or just bigger? I don't know what you call this other than just fraud. So it's crazy. It's just crazy to see it in a PowerPoint. And kudos to the person that put this together. I just think it's absolutely mind-boggling and exists. So if you want a little chuckle, and of course you didn't have money in FTX, you didn't lose all your money. So hopefully that didn't happen. I feel bad for you. Check out that specific slide. The other thing I want to call out is we did have some people mail in for stickers. I was a little backed up. The mail still worked, but I was unable to actually mail stickers for a few days. But I got out there. We did it. So I sent stickers to Dominic in Italy, in Matt. I guess his name is Matt, and it was in New South Wales. Was it NSW, Australia?
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you, but it was a different one. So yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah, I got on the mailroom. The mailroom really broke down. They weren't ready for the weather, but we got the stickers out. Hopefully everyone will get it. If you'd like a sticker, all you have to do is email your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. I'll be happy to mail you a sticker anywhere in the world. Also, in some nonsense links, you should read about the King of Kong controversy. Evidently, could be the Donkey Kong high score that's official. Sounds like some type of illicit joystick modification went down. And shout out to Aaron Delp. He's one of the co-hosts of the Cloudcast. He's got a whole bunch of stuff in Slack he told me about. He's like, yeah, he said he saw it right away in the documentary. So yeah, so that's about as nerdy as we can get. So the King of Kong.
It's a great documentary. It is
a great. It is like the characters in there are crazy. So the fact that there was cheating going on in Donkey Kong does not shock me at all. I'm not surprised to hear that, but it's a fun read. So some conferences coming up. It looks like the next one will be State of OpenCon. That's going to be in London. That's on February 7th and 8th. So you have to go back in time. You have to be there right now. That one's going to be done. The one I think the big one I think is the Southern California Linux Expo. You're going to be there, right, Matt? You and Cote going to be there?
Yeah. I'll be there. I'll be working the OpenCost/KubeCost booth, and I've got to talk.
Okay, well, there are a couple discount codes I got in here. One is DevOp, all caps. That'll get you some kind of deal. And it looks like there's another one, Speak. So I don't know, Matt.
That's our speaker discount. So
well, there you go.
I think Cote put that in there.
Email
might be even bigger.
Who knows? I don't know what it is. If you use that or abuse that code, everyone just email Cote directly. Tell him that it's his fault. And so hopefully you guys can do some type of live recording. I don't know. You can do something fun. If nothing else, you can buy people drinks. That's always simple, very simple to do. There's DevOps Days Birmingham, Alabama, of course. That's April 20th and 21st. And then there's going to be DevOps Days Austin, which is May 4th and 5th. Not that far away, Matt. Actually, not that far. So check out all of those conferences. Now, Matt, what is your recommendation this week?
So I haven't kicked the tires on it just yet, but yesterday my Kickstarter for the Star 5 Vision, what's this thing called? The Star 5 Vision 5 V2 showed up. There we go. I'm excited. You know what that is? It's a RISC-V system. So I got my first new toy to play with.
All right, explain to everyone so people know. Is it RISC-V or RISC-V? Is that, how do you say it? Like,
I think it's RISC-V.
All right, so explain to everyone real quick what that is. So if they don't, in case they haven't listened to all the episodes. Go ahead.
All right, so you know what x86 is. You probably know what ARM is. It's a different instruction set. RISC-V is kind of an open source instruction set architecture based off of the old RISC architecture that got made freely available without licensing encumbrance, which ARM is kind of open source. They license it out to everybody, but you still have to kick some of that money back to the ARM Foundation, and there's licensing about what you can and cannot do. RISC-V is more of a it's more of an Apache kind of license where it's like, hey, go nuts with it. And so they're it's currently slower than ARM, but the future is looking bright because when people don't have to pay licensing fees, they're more willing to try crazy things with things. So we'll see how this turns out. So it's not particularly fast yet, But we said that about the Raspberry Pi, and now everybody's running on Graviton. So there you are.
That's right. Everyone loves ARM. So yeah, I think we made, maybe you did, the long-standing prediction here that RISC-V will be the next thing that Apple goes to, right? Because then they would have basically no.
They got a ways to go. They're the kings of ARM right now. So
sure, but I'm saying like 10 years from now, we'll probably be talking about like, oh, thank gosh,
I think
we got to get off these ARM chips and all this licensing. We got to get to and of course like RISC-V. Hopefully we're saying it right. Will be like super fast by then, right? They'll be like, oh yeah, and it does all this new stuff, right? So all right, so in 10 years when that happens, Matt Ray, you can tell everyone that you saw it coming. So that's perfect.
Well, I'm not exactly out on a limb. I mean, there's a lot of people saying it's coming, and
Hey Matt, you got to own this corner. This is your world. You've been on this from the beginning. On the absolute beginning. You're out there. You're the RISC-V.
I mean, I like to play with weird hardware, and so this one is apparently Debian kind of works, and Arch might work. So I'm going to be wasting a lot of time reading how to get esoteric hardware to work, so I can put it on a shelf.
That's right. Well, Matt Ray, you do you. You do you. My recommendation, decidedly different. It's this tiny little app called Mirror. Have you ever used this one, Matt? You know what I'm talking about? Hand Mirror on the Mac. So it's like all it is a little, if you will, it sits up in your menu bar and you just click it and it'll just pop up your webcam. So it's like a mirror. So you can just kind of check it's working and that, that it sees you. And like right before I use it, like if you're getting on web calls or you're getting on something, you want to check your camera, make sure that you look good and the camera's working. You just press it and it just sees it. So it's a simple app, but it's amazingly useful. Yeah, but it is. It's like you don't have to boot up Photo Booth. You just hit this little thing there and it's like, boom, it works perfectly. So if you're on a lot of web calls or you just want to kind of see yourself, make sure your camera's working, check out Hand Mirror. It's a really, really handy app. Okay, well, this is episode 400. Matt, play the music. This is our big. It's an incredible milestone. Do you have something profound you want to say about 400?
400 is better than 300.
Well said, Matt. Could have said it better myself. So if you would like to see the show notes from this, you go to www.softwaredefinedtalk.com/what, Matt? What will the episode number be for this? Any guesses?
400.
Incredible. I cannot believe you got it. So just /400. You can read all the articles we referenced this, and we have a ton of articles we didn't get to this week. There's just too much. We're a little backed up. So there's tons of stuff you can read about, all kinds of craziness, some nonsense, and you can also read some links from Cote, and there's tons of fun in there. So with that, we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
All right. Good episode here. All right, so let me see. I missed some stuff in the chat here. So yeah, so I don't know. Is SD Moten? I appreciate the doing ChatGPT. That was funny. And what is this? The new being will make Google come out and dance. Oh, so he did. So okay. So Microsoft is sort of calling him out, which is good. I like it. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate everyone hanging in, watching the chat. See, Brian's in there. Brian survived some of the weather. So he was in the ice storm Slack with us, which was fun. And then JJ, of course, JJ was on as a guest a while. So appreciate him being on as well. We'll probably be back streaming probably next week, hopefully around this time, if all goes well.
Fingers
Been
crossed.
traveling.
Yeah.
If everybody can, if the scheduling gods make it possible, we'll be on. If not, we'll probably have some exciting interview in the feed. So we'll talk to you all next time.
Bye.